So everywhere is kind of a mess right now, but I've been going kind of on a building craze. I built this greenhouse, and I'm working on like beautifying it, but I'm gonna lay heavy mulch down there and make like a path like all the way around it and like connect it to my garden is over here. But I'm kind of at a halt because 2 of my tires blew out on my cart, so I can't haul rocks anymore. But I've also like been building all kinds of chicken tractors and stuff. Like whenever I had my greenhouse business in Oklahoma, the first structure we had was a wedding tent that Ricky bought, and it promptly blew away in the Oklahoma wind. It wrapped Ricky's head up in it and everything. It was terrible. But we saved the tarp from it. Some of them had windows, this one doesn't. But I used it as a permanent roof for this chicken tractor. And I've got food and water in there for them. But this one's cool because I can just unzip it. I have to have 2 hands. I can just unzip it, put a chicken, pull water and stuff out. So that's cool. And I've got my rabbits helping me eat up the grass over here. All this has been eaten up. You can see the lines where the chicken tractors have sat as I move them around. But every day I move them and I take all their eggs. It makes it a lot easier than climbing up in that coop and gathering eggs. This one's actually a little harder to deal with because of how I designed this with a flat. But it still works, and nobody escapes, so that's cool. And I built them completely out of sticks too, by the way. These are all sticks because I cut a branch off of one of the trees near the house. And then I've got 1 broody hen right now. I had like 2 or 3 that were broody, but with so many chickens in one place, they kept like kicking each other off the nests. But anyway, I've got food and water in here for her. I built this out of sticks. I tied together and stapled this bird netting too. And I was going to use this as like an in and out, but I don't. I just lift up the whole thing. It's so lightweight. The heaviest part's down there, so I just lift up right here. If I need to get up in there, I could just stand it up on end. I use the thickest sticks down there so it stands on end. And I've got a chicken in there. Let's see if I can show you. There she is, sitting on her eggs. I think I gave her like 15 in case some break or whatever fail. She was sitting on like a lot. But she's the first successful transfer that I've done. The other hen that I tried to move in this coop was white, and she kept, every time I did it, she would reject the egg. She was very finicky. I tried leaving her in here, and I marked all the eggs so that if new eggs were laid, I could take them and leave the marked eggs. She kicked all the marked eggs out of the nest. So it's been very difficult to get a chicken to take some eggs. Harder than I thought it would be. But I waited till it got dark, like Appalachia's Homestead did her silky this spring. I kept trying to do it in the daytime because I don't like to stay up past dark. So I did what she did and had success. So listen to Appalachia's Homestead whenever she gives you advice. But that's pretty much, I've been planting stuff like every other day, and I just keep planting and planting and planting. I've got tomatoes growing over here. I've got a lot of tomatoes growing over there. Because Ricky has started making homemade spaghetti sauce. But this, when I water them, I let it drain in here, and then I scoop it out using that pitcher and water my other things, because that's got all kinds of rabbit poop in it. And so I'm kind of thinking that I'm getting the fertilizer effect, so I just water everything with this water. Hey kitty! we've kicked her out of the house. She started weaning her babies. We let her see them 2-3 times a day. But she walks around and tries to keep them off her nipples. But everything's doing great. I just, today I really wanted to get at least half of this finished. But with my cart being down, that's not going to happen. But I don't know what I'm going to mulch this with yet. Maybe straw or leaves until I can get like wood chips or something. I just thought it would be attractive. But I really like it. It gets up to 100 on 80-degree days. It's all windows. I put this, it's just drop cloth from the dollar store. Because if it hailed, I wanted a little bit of protection in case it hits the glass. Since it's just old windows. But the wind came for 3 days and tore off half of it. So it's draped here. My original plan was to leave these unhinged so I could just pull them down for ventilation. And with the chickens in there, I've got that screen open in there, and then I've got these open. But it really doesn't make a difference in the temperature. But they've been fine. I just make sure and keep water with them. It's about 95. That's about 95. But I've moved my wood burning stove in here because since I'm not done, there's Crazy Head. Since I'm not done Crazy Head, what's the matter? I guess I scared her. Since I'm not done building in here, I wanted this sitting about where I would have it so that I can build... Tell us! So I can build stuff around it. But that's my old wood burning stove. It has this optional decoration that hooks on here, but I thought, oh, I can heat stuff up in here this winter. Hey, can you tell me your story later? Because I'm trying to talk to the camera. Pretty please? So I've got this tarp on it to keep them from pooping on it and stuff. And they go under it and hide. She's talking about it today. But I'm pretty excited about what the finished project is going to look like. I'll probably take pictures if it ends up cute. It's probably going to take me a couple of years to get stuff like growing around here. Like I've got, you know, some of my house plants over here. They get some direct sunlight like first thing in the, in the middle of the morning, but then it goes on and becomes shade there. And they've been there for 2 days and I don't see any sun bleaching on anything, so I think they're going to be okay. Because like that will turn orange if it's getting too much sun, and those will turn like yellow, the pothos ivy. But I've got hardy hibiscus here. This one had a little bit of growth on it, and I just kind of buried it, hoping it'll just keep pushing through. The soil's really loose. But hopefully I'll have 2 hardy hibiscus right here in front, which I think would be pretty, big, bushy, lots of flowers, cover up some of it. But it's just a work in progress. I've moved those wooden benches over here and have been using them as shelves because we don't sit on them anymore. I thought about, this used to be one long plank and there's some left, and I thought about building a 3rd bench for back here instead of this table. But this table is pretty handy because it folds in the middle, so I can kind of like tilt it up and drain the excess water that collects here. Because for some reason it's just kind of bowed right there. But I don't know, whenever it's done, hopefully it'll be amazing. But it's just, I've got so many things going on. I've been trying to make a list and do the list, but I'm like, oh well, I just had an idea, and so I just start doing something, and then I realize, well, I need to finish this other project, and then the wind starts to blow my unfinished project apart, like what happened here. The wind started taking apart my greenhouse when it was half finished. And I decided I'm just going to build a bunch of smaller greenhouses anyway instead of the giant one like I used to have. Because that's a lot more manageable for me. than a huge hoop that I have to stand on the very top rung and then reach my arms as high as they'll go to like screw something up top on the top of these arches. I don't remember how high it was. But, so I'm going to do something different here. But, I need to just go inside and get my list and quit coming up with all these fantastic ideas and get something actually done. But I am glad to have my chicken tractors and this cage for this little thing. I've tried a couple of different things and they all failed, but this has been, as far as cages to go around this small coop, but this has been just absolutely perfect. So, and the way it's triangular and wider out here was kind of an accident. While I was tying the corners, it kept slipping, and I thought, well, why not? I've got enough stick, why not let it slip? And so I just made it wider here at the end. Because she doesn't need space over there under the house, but it gives her just a couple more feet of grass to eat. Somebody's in there laying an egg, I think. Hi, Mom. That used to be screwed onto that, but the chickens tore it off because I had it in there. And they were using it as a perch instead of going in it at night, so that's why it's covered in poo. Hoping a couple of rains will take care of that. But with all the chickens spread out, things are actually a lot more manageable than when they were all together. And actually, I'm kind of hoping that maybe some grass might start to grow back in here to give them a snack, because they've started digging their little dust holes. It may or may not. Look, they're digging holes under the fence. But I've also want to do something different with this. But that's partly why I made these mobile, is so that I can move those and the fencing. And each time I build a new fence, it becomes even more chicken-proof, like they can't get in and out. But I've got all kinds of things, like covering the holes. I've got wire here, which kind of gives it a little support too. And I've got some string from a hay bale here that just kind of sews these holes together. Keeps them in. That's what I care about. That's why I started doing this, because I had a Cooper hawk that took 35 of my 162 chickens. And that was just an astronomical amount of chickens, you know. They're really cheap. The boys are. They're like 39 cents at cacklehatchery.com, I think. The girls were a little more expensive depending on what kind of breed you got. The Easter eggs were the most expensive. They were like $4 to $6. That's what she is. It's taking a dust bath. Easter egg. They lay little green eggs. But when it adds up, because once you get them, you're like, wow, I can't believe I just spent $39 on 100 chickens. Well, then you feed them and you take care of them and everything, all this stuff you do for them, it adds up, and then it dies and it's all for nothing. You just paid out all that money and time to feed a predator. And that's why I've decided to lock them up. I wanted them to be free range, but I didn't know that this hawk, and it would kill them and not even eat them. That's what frustrated me. I mean, I would go inside for 20 minutes and come outside and there'd be dead chicken. And it like there was one way over there by the edge of the woods, and there was a Cooper hawk feather, and it was dead. Its neck was broken, but its skin wasn't. And I was just like, man, what a waste. Like, nobody ate that chicken. But my grapes are going crazy. This one never has done as well as this one. But we've only had them for like a year. But what I plan to do is I skipped a rung here. I skipped one, and then I'm going to train that one along here and skip this rung and come up here, and then skip that all the way up, as big as they'll grow. And hopefully we get to the top. Thankfully, most of these runners are coming up right here, because that's going to make it easier to braid them together if I wanted to do, like, fill in a hole or something. But we'll see. I've been just braiding them as we go. And as I get more runners, it's more difficult to braid. But here you can kind of see where I've braided them together. Just kind of sew them together in a tight little thing on up. This winter it actually looked pitiful and kind of creepy because it didn't have all this green and all these tendrils. It was just this dead stick. But this one's going to look the same. But hopefully it'll be pretty in a few years. Hopefully I can get all of this pretty in a few years.